other surrounding areas. We can already see a bulk of our plane jumping out on boot camp, so it's about to be a very exciting game number one.
Ooh, this may be a couple people all trying to go for boot camp. This means that they want action early, unless, of course, they were just faking me out and they're going to be flying over and going to those compounds just to the south. That does seem to be the case. It's only going to be Mr. Event 48 landing in boot camp itself, so he got a little bit of the holy grail right now, because there is a lot of loot there.
Yeah, I mean, it's surprising that one player was able to scare off everyone else parachuting and scouting around boot camp and claim it all to himself. The loot tables there are absolutely insane. The density off the charts. So he's going to be very, very happy with what he's got. Moxie, though, we can already see him taking his parachute down. Going to be finding a good loot location for himself. But in solos, Cameron, it's so important to sort of find your area. Find exactly what you're trying to do, because you don't have those teammates to work off of.
Absolutely. It's definitely important. You got to have your own senses, which means that you need to check every single one of your corners. You need to have your ears open just so you know that that entire area around you is clear. Moxie right now grabbing a shotgun and a UMP. Shotgun, not the worst weapon on this map because of how close quarters it can end up being, but I'm assuming he's going to want to pick up something else. UMP, though, very good weapon. One of my favorites on this map. Very good weapon.
SMG's receiving a buff in the recent weeks, Cameron, but extremely dangerous on Sunok in particular. Looking over here, though, we've got a player, event number 41, kind of getting very close to event 59. We can already see grenades or some type of throwable going out. Yep, that was a frag grenade. So certainly the presence is known by these two players, and it's only a matter of time before they either collide or decide to just get out of dodge.
He's not going to make the connection onto event 41, but he's going to go aggressive back on the return. 59 is pulling back all the way in the warehouse. This is actually not that much cover for 59, so if he overextends right now, but 41 looks to go on the chase. Right back here onto Paradise Resort, though, we got a couple of people here. 16 is going to be leaving. 39, though, on the northern end isn't going to be able to go aggressive just yet, but event 42 right now, you see he made a couple connections, took a lot of damage in return from 0-9.
Yeah, event number 9 on the opposite end of that building, just trying to get some cover, but the shot's now coming out. That beautiful, beautiful gun right there. Event number 59 using the Vector, one of the more favorited weapons on Sunok in particular, but a very solid kill. 41 players remaining, already 3 minutes into game number 1.
Exactly, we got a couple, and looks like killing hasn't stopped yet, because 30, he's got a couple people in his sights on here on the River City.
Indeed. Just trying to pick out whatever information he can. Like you mentioned, Cameron, it is so important for these guys to be able to watch all their different angles. It's probably the scariest room on Sunok that this player was just in with all of the mannequins.
Event 60? My guy, why don't you have anything?
You know, he's feeling out the area, Cameron.
Okay.
Obviously, you can see he's looking, he's leaning, he's just trying to gauge what all threats are sort of lying inside of this area. But around the map, Cameron, first circle, we're going to be taking our players to the western side of Sunok. So certainly with how many players are on the eastern coast right now, we're going to see some transitions.
Yeah, a lot of people prefer to favor the eastern larger island, which makes sense because it is the best access to the center. You're more likely to have to cross over the river if you're going from west to east than vice versa. But because of that, it means that there's a large collection of people on that island, and everyone's going to have to go east to west, and they're going to all clump into each other. You can see a lot of people around Quarry, and that's only going to fill up more where you got players from Kampong and up on the top Mongai going to be pushing in themselves.
Yeah, and if there's anything that the channel separating Sosnovka Island and the main part of Erangel has taught us, it's that rivers, channels, bridges, extremely dangerous, and our players are going to have to be crossing quite a bit of those.
Well, first, though, it's going to be a player spotted out by 46, trying to go for the shot, but he's going to get turned on by Moxie. Finds a kill for himself with that UMP, going to be able to go in and grab some more meds, some more armor, some more weapons for himself. So a nice kill pick up there, dropping us below 40 players. But one thing I do want to say, though, you brought up the comparison to Erangel with the rivers. On Sunok, the rivers, there are a lot more avenues through. There's some areas that you can just walk through the water without having to swim. It's a little bit of a land bridge, and there are a couple more rivers. They're also a lot shorter, so it's not as punishing as the strait between the two islands on Erangel. But it definitely is worse than, say, going in through hills with there's tree cover and all that.
Exactly. Event player 30 kind of exhibiting that right there as he crosses through one of these canals trying to get over to the main part of the map. But with the blue zone now pushing in on circle number 1, Cameron, a bit of a sense of urgency going to be behind these players' backs.
It's about 40%, 35% closed right now. We've got 2 minutes and 20 seconds until it's all done and dusted. But there's a lot of people still on that eastern edge of the circle on Quarry. They don't want to push any more center than they have to, and that's because it is really hard to get information, especially as a solo. Looks like Event 60, though. He's found a gun for himself, but 48 seems to have heard this, trying to sneak around the side, and 60 gets caught in the open, takes a lot of damage. Doesn't know where it's coming from, it seems. And it's going to be 48 getting another kill with the QBZ.
The QBZ, one of the newer weapons introduced to PUBG, specific to Sonic in particular, but it is an absolute beast. You see this gun favorited everywhere. But speaking of good guns, here is our first crate, I believe, Cameron, of game number 1 featuring the Groza and that full level 3 kit, the helmet, the backpack, and the vest. Going to be there for one player to pick apart.
It is on the southwest part of the map, and there aren't that many people around it, so I don't know if anyone wants to go and take that risk of chasing into it. We'll see if it gets picked up in the future or not. You can see it on the map right now just above Sanmi. But another fight's going to be breaking out. A player's actually in a vehicle. It's going to be 04. We're taking shots at that, but it looks like Event 03 is going to make it out of that engagement.
I mean, so really at this point of the game, Cameron, as a solo player, you're just trying to figure out where am I going to go inside of the circle. You want to try to reduce the transition time as much as possible. We know the transitions in PUBG are so deadly.
Event 3, though, he's taking this risky transition, and he is going for the crate. He is bombing all the way from the north down to the south. He wants his equipment, and it's a risky push for him. He has no clue if anyone's gotten to the crate before him or not.
Ooh, and that car's smoking, too.
Yeah, it's taking a lot of damage. It's down to about 30% HP itself, and he's actually turning off of it. Decided to change his mind. Maybe he wasn't going for the crate after all.
Yeah, maybe he's just trying to scout out a different position. Sometimes those crates are hard to find, you know, if you don't spot them out when they're actually landing. But he's going to continue on. Certainly a very risky endeavor given how damaged this vehicle is. Vehicle explosion's a very, very fundamental part of PUBG.
Another fight breaking out. A player's going to be pushing into a building. Nade's trying to throw it out, but now it's actually Moxie in another engagement, peeking around the side. Knows the player behind the tree. Tries to pre-fire that. Player peeks out in return. No real damage back and forth, but Moxie's going to be trading back to the UMP. Even going to prep a nade for himself for some zoning, but right here on the top floor, it's going to be Event 29 getting the better of Event 30.
Players going down and out. Moxie really utilizing that M416 in the 6-time spray. One of the more favorited scopes and weapon lineups in recent weeks, Cameron, but doing absolute work with that. Also, he's got that new Sanok skin from the Battle Pass.
Absolutely, making good work with it. And actually, that push around that corner did not only get this kill, it also avoided, as you saw, shots from a third player from behind. So definitely it was a necessary move for him to do so. He's got some more loot for himself as well. That's what, 19 bandages, 4 first aid kits, 3 energy drinks. He's pretty kitted out. He should be pretty good now.
Yeah, already 2 kills to his name. Moxie is certainly priming himself for one of those top 8 slots here in game number 1 that will be moving on to games 2 through 6, where they find themselves playing with their favorite streamers or celebrities. But Cameron, they are not there yet. They still have more work to do. And coming through the Corey, event number 54, going to be popped down and taken out by Event 59 with the AKM.
Yeah, 59 playing it real risky. Waiting almost until the blue came over him just so he could punish players running in late themselves, and that's exactly what happened here. 59 able to grab some more loot for himself. He's got the AK, he's got the Kar 98. He is all kitted out with the 7.62 ammo type. Weak on armor. It's level 1s across the board for, okay, it's level 2 backpack, but the helmet and chest armor is still level 1, so he's got to make sure that he continues to play sneaky because it's not going to be blocking as much damage as higher upgraded armor will.
Yeah, that level 1 helmet is certainly a one-tap dirt nap if you get caught out by any players here on the map. As we can see, though, some of our players sitting in these chairs very fiercely trying to compete and trying to make it to the end. 40 seconds until the blue zone will be shrinking on circle number 2. And as we can see, Cameron, it is focused a little bit more on the western side of things here on Sanok.
43 finding Event 15. Not prepared out in the open. You have to watch your angles, and whenever you pause to either do meds or maybe check the map, you always want to make sure that you can't get spotted through any windows just like this. And so 43 is going to find an easy punish and another kill for himself, putting himself also up to 2.
Absolutely. You hear players, coaches, analysts always say, keep your head on a pivot. You want to always be looking in every direction because threats can present themselves from everywhere, Cameron. As we see Moxie at the heart of all these different engagements, going to be rolling up on yet another player, event number 59, a player who we've already seen pick up at least 1 kill so far.
Absolutely, he's pushing forward right now. I don't know if Moxie is spotted though, but it looks like Event 51's found someone else. Oh, trying to go for the melee kill. I can respect that, but it's not going to work out for him. The point blank damage from an AR is going to be too much for him. 39 also finding a kill in the kill feed with the SLR. Moxie though, he's going to stop behind this tree. I believe he got shot by 59, which is why he stopped, got the first aid out. Is going to be able to spot him. There's a 6X on the AK, wants to peek around the side. 59's going aggressive out in the open. He absolutely has to. Push up the hill is going to be risky. He's running out in the open right now. I don't know about this move. He doesn't have any cover, and that allows Moxie to find an easy frag on him getting 3 for himself now.
Absolutely. Some of these top players in PUBG, Cameron, I mean, if you give them the shots, they will absolutely execute on them. And we just saw Moxie do just that. So now continuing to push on. 3 kills to his name. Moxie's certainly a standout player already for this event.
51, not checking his corners. O2 definitely heard the just thump of the feet running up the hill. I don't know if he took a shot or not. It was very quick if he did. I don't know if 51 heard that, but he is long gone. He's just barreling through everything, but it's necessary because look on the map. There are a lot of people around this boot camp area. It wasn't a hot drop at the very start, but it's becoming that with the way that the circle has been pushing all these players.
Absolutely. A product of how many players landed on the eastern side of Sanhok in the beginning of the game. But with our circles continuing to shrink, the blue zone is almost done with its second transition of game number 1. So our players are going to have to find a new spot to go, perhaps after this next shrink.
Yeah, a lot of people still not quite in the circle, but there's a number of people waiting just to take him out while they push in. Event 18, find another kill for himself. This is on the opposite side of the map. This is on the northwest island. And so he's going to be able to control his area a little easier, especially with this big mountain in the way. The problem, though, is when the next circle reveals itself, is if he has to push through, it can be real risky to push over because there's not a lot of cover on the opposite side.
Yep, wide open shots will be had on event number 18 if he gets spotted out by any players in that area. But here's our third circle, Cameron, and it is going to be shifting us over to the northwestern side of things. So our players continuing to have to push further and further west from the east.
This is real rough for the people on the 2 larger islands. The small northwest island that seems to be getting all the love from Mr. Player Unknown himself. And the water, the river is still in play. And so if you have an opportunity, you need to cross these rivers right now. Because if you are on the unlucky majority of people who are across it and have to run into that southeast edge, you're then going to have to most likely cross it later on. And you want to cross this river as early as you can.
Exactly, Cameron. We talk about it so much in competitive PUBG. There are essentially 3 different times to rotate. You can make the fast rotation as soon as you get the information. You can make the rotation maybe a few seconds in, maybe a minute in when you sort of have discovered where you want to be landing next. Or you can opt for the very, very late rotation, eating some of that blue damage and sort of creeping your way in later than anyone else on the map would expect.
30 seconds right now until it starts to close, and you saw how far of a swing this circle was. If you're on the southeast edge, you're going to have to deal with a fast approaching blue. We talked about how these settings have it move slower. Doesn't mean that it moves slow.
No, it does not mean that it moves slow, Cameron. And I have a huge announcement for some of our players still in the lobby. It is not going to be the top 8 players. It is going to be the top 14 players coming out of this lobby, Cameron.
Yeah, with 26 alive right now, that's just, what, 12 more that need to die before you're able to advance on to the main event. Moxie tried to take a couple of ambitious shots, one would say, onto a moving vehicle. Not the easiest targets to hit, especially if you're just trying to go for a headshot in the driver's seat. Yeah, hey, but you go for it. You miss all the shots that you don't take.
Exactly. And some of these shots just aren't meant to connect. Some of these shots are just pressure type shots to force someone off of that position. We see it time and time again in duos and squad play, but certainly it can happen in solos as well. We do see a lot of movement, though. Certainly our southern side of things getting a little bit congested as well as the east.
So event 14, he's able to find that crate that we saw at the very beginning coming in down from the south. But look, the blue is already at his back. He's going to have to cross through ruins. And there are a lot of players around that area. So he's going to have to put this Groza to use if he wants to advance on. He only has 105 bullets total, so not the greatest backup ammunition. He's going to have to hit his shots immediately. He doesn't have a lot to spare with just random pre-firing.
Right. The Groza, not the best mid to long range gun, but it absolutely shreds through armor at close range. You see players favor this gun over the AKM, over everything else when you're in those extreme close range positions. So I'm going to be interested to see what Event Player 14 is going to be able to pull out here. Event Player 4 going off to one of these lonely islands over here off of the southern side of things. That's an interesting spot, Cameron.
Yeah, he's definitely trying to loop around. He doesn't want to go across the bridge because he's expecting it to be more congested than it's running out the open right now. It's definitely a good play. He may get overtaken by the blue for a couple of moments before he's able to make landfall and able to med up after that. But that shouldn't be too bad for him right now.
It shouldn't be too bad. Event Player 40 going to be riding the coast right here, just trying to avoid any lines of sight, certainly from our player over there, Event Player 4. But around the map, Cameron, more and more transitions happening, and we are going to see the action start to pop off in spades in a matter of minutes.
Ooh, Event 9 wants to go for the loot, but it's out in the open. You can see shots immediately on his position. This is how risky it is to go for some loot sometimes, even though you want those meds, you want that ammo, but you're likely to get shot just as likely as your victim was.
Exactly.
He wants to go for these kills, though, trying to find someone else hiding out in boot camp. No helmet for them either, taking damage from the blue, too. And Event 9 is going to find the final connection with the 4X and the QBZ onto Event 10.
Yeah, so 3 kills for Event Player 9, sort of coming for Moxie here.
going for more. And a couple of shots at players down very low. Should be medding up behind the tree right now, but no backpack and no armor. Not a lot of loot, no meds, I'm assuming. And so Event 9 grabs a 4th. Problem is, though, he's going to have to move soon because the next circle is going to center up, but it's going across the river.
It is going across the river, exactly, Cameron. They got to do something here to get across because so many players. We can see it's very congested on the eastern side of things. Paths will be crossed and shots will be had, but we know that the third-party engagements on Sonok is so strong given the proximity of all of the players.
Getting a player drowned. Remember, everyone, a couple of patches ago, swimming was greatly nerfed, and you drown real fast. So if you do have to swim across the water, you got to make sure that you're able to do it safely and you're not pinned down by some bullet fire.
Absolutely. We see a player crossing the bridge right now, going to be crossing the face of event player 50 and event player 4. No shots coming out yet, so these guys are just trying to hide, and that is a smart decision given the fact that all of these players here on the Southwest are out of the circle. Moving over there, back to the east, Cameron, kind of seeing how things have shaped up. 2 players dropped out in the water.
Yeah, trying to make that swim across. It's a little late to do so. In fact, the blue has already started moving in. So at this point, I don't know how many of them are going to be able to make it across. If you're taking blue damage in the water, you're not able to heal.
Yeah, and speaking of not being able to heal, Event 22, only 5 bandages and a boost to his name, dropped down to about 15% HP. This guy's got to do something because certainly we know that, at least in the late game, you need to have full HP, Cameron.
I'm really worried about a lot of these players.
Yes.
They want to grab these kills now because where the next circle is, it's very limited cover.
Yep, and 5 players remaining until we have locked in our 14 players that will be moving on. So this is do or die.
Absolutely. Oh! Moxie, I don't know where that was from. Was he looting a body or did he just look at the map in an unfortunate position?
You know, sometimes that happens, Cameron. Sometimes you don't have the optimal cover to hide behind while you try to get that information. Moxie will be going out in 19th place. Such a strong player at the beginning of this qualifying round. Unfortunately, not going to be making it to games 2 through 6.
Now, Event 4, he's going to go with the arduous task of scaling up this hill. You can see a couple players in front of him, but he didn't spot him. A couple of shots on his position. He heard that he's hiding behind the tree. He's going to have to peek out to zero in directly onto that player's position. He's not making the peek right now, though. Event 7, he has him pinned down. He's going for the heal right now, but 7, this gives him the opportunity to relocate his position. He's actually going to toss out a couple of nades. This one may be able to roll down the hill. And in fact, Event 4 is going to be running away from it out in the open right now. 7's not landing the shots. Another tree is found by 4.
Behind the tree, behind the rock, this engagement is popping off now. Some very hard peaks coming out of event number 4. No lean peaks for this guy, but certainly event 7 going to be trying to get out that damage, spraying down with the QBZ 2 times, able to connect and taking out event number 4 in 18th place. Cameron, just 3 more players need to die before our 14 players are locked in for games 2 through 6.
Yeah. Definitely. A compensator is a very good item attachment to have on that QBZ. Mid-range, that control on that is amazing. But look at this next circle. Everyone's going to have to scale up this giant hill, and that is very difficult to do. Whenever I see a circle like this, I always just have a temptation to just quit the game because I don't want to have to deal with the drama. But only what is it now at this point?
One more
player needs to die.
15 players alive. 14 will be making it on. So Cameron, you would hate to be the 15th player, but certainly someone has to be. This circle is not going to be friendly to any of our teams.
It's going to be Event 9, who's the unfortunate soul. Like 11th hour, 48's going to be able to find him over the ridge, but now he's going to make the run himself from the water because the blue has started to close on him, and once again, he is on the fast side.
On the fast side of things, moving in, we'll be crossing the paths of one enemy here in this compound in particular. Event number 29 going to be sitting inside of this building. They are close enough to where footsteps can likely be heard if you have the sound turned up, so need to be aware of that. 2 other players getting very close, just a little bit west of this is going to be, here's Garrett 9000 creeping up. We talked about snakes, Cameron. Here they are.
He is expecting people to be in this compound. That's definitely a good sixth sense to have because Event 31 is just hiding out in the corner. But he's going to take his pole away from that, trying to gatekeep, but doesn't want to wait so long the blue ends up punishing him. So he wants to have an opportunity to get into the circle himself. Doesn't spot out Event 40. May have just seen a couple of pixels. It's easier for us, remember, with the X-ray. Garrett 9000, he's going to have sharper eyes if he wants to spot this player out.
Absolutely. Shots had around the map. Cameron, this end zone in particular is going to be encompassing some of our hard rock mountains on Sanhok. And with those mountains, there's little caves, little cutouts that players can kind of hide into and really catch someone out and off their guard.
Event 40 gets taken out, but 28, he heard those shots. Wants to make sure that he is keeping himself safe from that angle up to the northwest. You can see on the mini-map in the bottom right corner, the next circle is going to be a little more favorable to those having to run up from the south.
Yeah, but shifting back down to the south. So sort of a back and forth for these
Yeah.
guys. No circle has really been convenient for anyone on this map, and that's exactly how us as spectators love it.
28 trying to take some long-range shots. They're not going to land, but ooh, then 40's caught between a rock and a hard place, and he actually ends up getting taken out by 28. But pressure from the opposite side certainly didn't help him with that.
Certainly did not help. 4 players remaining, Cameron, and this is what we've been waiting for. Who is going to be coming out in first place? We already have decided our 14 players that are going to be moving on, but now pride is on the line. This is your reputation here on your platform to try to show out and showcase all of your skills.
29 taking some shots up to the northeast onto 27. Trying to land those shots. The peek out. It's a stable peek, and 27, he's not going to land his shots in return, leaving himself out. Basically, you get taken out by 28, so now up to top 3. 28, though, he needs to do a lot of work because he is on the low ground compared to both other surviving players still in this game.
Absolutely. A very good point that you just made there, Cameron. Looking what he's trying to do, though. He's getting the boost up. He knows that he has to move. Event 28 just trying to peak these angles. This is where the competitive play comes into effect. This is where all of the angles need to be watched. You need to try to get any audible cues that you can to point out where your enemies lie.
Garrett 9000, though, he's in a rough spot himself because 28 could have easy eyes on him if he's not in the process of moving, but he also could walk directly in between 51 and 28, so Garrett needs to have his own head on a swivel. 28, though, blue on his back, does find a tree that's inside, but oh, Garrett, while being in the middle, does get some love from the circle. He's going to have to watch both sides when he gets attacked if it does happen to be from the same time, but here comes 51, just swinging around the corner, does get spotted out by 28.
Garrett's got a little bit of a bodyguard down here. Event number 28 going to be popping down the player, rolling up on Garrett, but Garrett 9000 is spotted out. A 1v1 situation here to end game number 1, and Garrett is going to be just trying to hide, trying to get some information. The damage is coming out, though, dropped down to about 60% HP. 6 kills on event number 28, and there it is. The 7th kill will be ringing true for that beautiful first place finish.
Definitely